What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Life After Strange right here on Player One versus the World. And court is in session. Judge Diaz is proceeding. And yes, that means none other than Amador Plascencia is coming on my show. Amador, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
No, of course. Absolute pleasure. I've got a little bit of cold, so some people might see my tissue appearing in the shot sometimes, but yeah, I'm not too bad. Of course, anyone who's watching knows that Amador plays Esteban Diaz. He is the head honcho of the Diaz household, and there's plenty of stuff to talk about on this about Life is Strange. But Amador, I feel like for me personally, I kind of want to start with your roots into acting. So I want to know, how did you end up becoming an actor?
So let's see. Backtracking here a little bit. I first kind of like had like an itch to do something, I guess, in that field. I saw the movie Richie Valens. That's back in like the 80s, early 90s. I saw that and I saw Lou Diamond Phillips, and I was like, wow, that, I want to do that. And for me, I thought it was like, I want to be a singer or play the guitar. Flash forward, and now what I think I wanted to do was act. And that kind of came about when I saw the movie The Mask with Jim Carrey. I thought to myself, and I was in sixth grade, I think, when I saw the movie. And it was like, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to do that. And it was act, and I absolutely love that movie. And that, I think it really came about when I saw like what he Jim Carrey like brought to like people with like happiness and like this, just making people laugh. And like I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. I want to entertain people.
Would Jim Carrey be one of your favorite actors then, I assume?
I definitely think so. I mean, one of my favorite movies of all time would be Dumb and Dumber. And that's just because like it's a movie where it's like just everything kind of like disappears for me. It's like, and it's just funny, it's just fun, and it's ridiculous. So I would say that he is definitely one of my favorite actors, and it's like I said, it's just what he brings. He brings a lot of joy to people, I think, when they're watching those movies of his.
Amazing. No, it's a very interesting backstory to get into acting. Usually the people I speak to are like, I wanted to become an actor or like, X, Y, Z. But I like that the story started with, Jim Carrey and that kind of influence and The Mask as well. So that's really cool. And of course, as well, we have to talk about Life is Strange and, take us back to that day that you got the audition process for Life is Strange 2. What was it like? And did you audition specifically for Esteban as well?
I did audition specifically for Esteban, excuse me. And that day, I remember going into this casting office. It's no longer, that casting office is no longer, I believe, there, because it's one of the casting offices where, if I'm not mistaken, I self-submitted myself. Self-submit means like, I'm like on Actors Access, Casting Frontier, Casting Network, and things like that. I had an agent at that time, but I'm working for myself as well, trying to get as much work as I possibly can, because I still am, an up and coming actor. So nobody's going to work for myself as much as I work for myself, is what I always try to say. So I self-submitted, and I went to this casting office. Like I said, that's no longer there, and I went in and they're like, hey, we're going to, put on these headphones and we're going to record you. And, and they gave me a description of what Esteban was, which was similar to the breakdown, what he was. And I'm like, cool. All right, cool. Well, I had already worked on it and things like that. And they go in, I go in and I read it and they're like, okay, this is great. Can you do, can you adjust this and this? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I did it, and I think a couple of weeks passed by and I didn't hear anything. So I'm like, well, it's another audition, Don't get told yes or no unless it's yes. But didn't hear anything. Then like, I think third week goes by, and then my agent was like, hey, you got this thing. So I'm like, great, cool, let's do it. That's awesome.
Amazing. And I like the fact that you talked about you work for yourself as an actor, because I know a lot of the people that watch my show have become heavily influenced by Life is Strange, and they kind of want to pursue acting. So I think that's kind of a good message for them watching as well, that your way of going about acting is a good kind of source of inspiration for them to work for themselves. No, of course. And obviously, you've got this project with with Life is Strange. You're on board for it. Do you remember when you first saw what Esteban looked like? And what were your impressions of Esteban when you saw what his actual appearance looked like?
I honestly don't remember when I first saw what Esteban looked like. I want to say it was first when like somebody else sent it to me, to be quite honest. It was a still shot. I don't even remember like being told when it was dropping, when Life is Strange 2 was dropping. I remember one morning, I wake up and my phone is just like bzz, bzz, it's like going off on vibrate, and I was groggy waking up. And when I wake up, I'm seeing like, oh, this person's like friending you on Twitter, this person. And it was like, it was going off for like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes straight. It was just going off. And I was like, what is this? What's happening here? And then like, I started getting these messages like, oh, you were so great at Esteban Diaz. And I'm like, oh, the game must have dropped. and I think somebody sent me like the picture of Esteban, and I'm like, oh man, this is awesome, this is fantastic. So I like I said, I kind of woke up to that. I didn't really know when, like I said, when it dropped, and I don't recall seeing a picture of what they had Esteban as.
Yeah, because I usually know the games that they're very heavily code name protected, and like even with the franchise as well, some people don't even know they're involved with Life is Strange until they kind of work it out.
Yeah, I had no clue. I had no clue what it was, man. To be quite, I don't. Hopefully, people aren't gonna like get mad at me, but I don't play video games too long. I haven't played for a while. And the video game that I did play was Call of Duty, and I wasn't very good at it. So I kind of just stopped playing, like, and I was born in the 80s. So the games that I am like more, I gravitate towards like Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario 2, Super Mario 3. So those are the games that I grew up playing, and like they have a, spot in my heart. So it's like when the little Nintendo came out again, and like I ran to go grab it. So I have that, but like I said, the last games I really played was like Call of Duty, but wasn't very good at it. And then, like I said, I didn't know about Life is Strange until, I had this, I was lucky enough to get this.
No, I don't think people are going to burn you for not playing, not knowing the series or playing the game, because it's just one of those things where people, sometimes the actors like are gamers, sometimes they're not gamers, sometimes they become gamers because of it. So it's quite, I always like find it quite interesting to hear each actor's kind of like perspective on the series. So
yeah, I'm sure you'll be fine. Don't get me wrong, I love video games, but like I said, I have a 3-year-old. I do have a full-time job, and another side jobs. And then on top of acting, so it's like I am super busy when it comes to that. But it's like, I think gaming is awesome. It's fantastic, but unfortunately, I don't play as much as I would like. I wish I could, but I just don't have a chance.
You never know. When the little one becomes old, you might be able to. But
yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Hopefully, when he gets older, then we'll be able to play video games.
Definitely. And so this is if I'm correct off IMDb, this is your first VO project in a gaming as well.
Yeah.
And so with that as well, you entered the booth with VO director Philip Bache. Philip has a marvelous reputation on my series with every person I've worked with. But what was your experience like working with him?
Oh man, this dude is the man. Like seriously, as if you go, you said like, hey, I'm Philip. He was there, obviously. He's doing his thing, and he's like, do this. And for me, when he would tell me, when he would redirect me and how to do things, I think he just, I don't know what he does. Like for me, I think he just kind of like, he brought out the best for me, because he was like, this works, this doesn't work, try this, but try this like this. And he would just redirect me in a way that I feel was so beneficial, in a way that it's like, he's not telling me like, no, that's like, no, he was like, that works great, now try this, but with this. And then he would, sometimes when I would try to interpret what he's telling me, he would be like, no, look it, I'm going to play this clip for you. And this part, and he would tell me the specific parts. I want you to do this, but throughout the entire line, or flip them. Start off with this instead with this. You know, I think he's great. And like you said, he obviously knows what he's doing. He's the man.
Definitely. And with him as well, when I spoke to Gonzalo, he appeared on this show, and he spoke about how he improvised in Nano, and then he had a bit more flexibility with his lines, specifically because of the delivery they wanted. And I know that you're Spanish speaking, that you have, you're fluent in it. I just wanted to know, did Philip offer you that same kind of flexibility of Esteban to kind of tweak lines and make it sound a bit more fluent?
I don't remember. I think there was a couple of times where it's like, where I said, because obviously, like you said, I do speak Spanish in the video game and in life, and Spanish was actually my first language growing up. So whenever I would see, if I would see like, hey, I think this sounds better, I would probably just tell them like, hey, I think this sounds better like this. And so they'll be like, okay, do it like that, and then do it like this, how it's written. So they would have both of those options. So I would tell them like, hey, I think this is what I think sounds better, but obviously, you know, I'll read it like this, and then I'll give you the delivery that I think sounds good as well. But so I didn't ask. I just kind of was like, hey, I think this might be it. So, but I was never told no. I think again, they know exactly what they're doing, and I think that they'll let the actors go off a little bit. In the sense that like, hey, they're not going to try to, to extinguish your fire, I guess you could say, is the best analogy. So that make sure that, you know, you are, you know, creating and making this your own voice, and obviously you're lending your voice, but you are making it your own. So. Okay,
yeah, I thought it might have been along those lines. They are very flexible with actors kind of like getting into the roles. So with your sessions, I know that you specifically work with Philip mainly because he is the VO director, but from other actors' experiences, I've heard that Michel sometimes was there in some kind of capacity, the co-director on Life is Strange too. Was he there for your sessions?
Yeah. He wasn't there physically, obviously, because I believe he's in France. Yeah. But he wasn't there. He wasn't there physically, but I was always able to hear him as well when I had my headset on. He would talk to Philip, or he would tell me, hey, what's up? I wonder how you doing, you know, things like that. And he would obviously have input on what I had to say, obviously. So he was always there, and Michel was such a cool guy, man. You know, I don't know if I should say spoiler alert on anything like that.
No, I'm sure that.
Okay, I'm they sure already know what happens to me.
Yeah, of course.
So okay, good. I was just making sure. So obviously in the first episode, I get killed, right? And so I'm thinking like, oh man, that's it. You know, that was, you know, such a fun experience, awesome. And so I found Michel on Twitter. And I sent him a message, and I'm like, hey, you know, thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity. You know, I'm very grateful to you. And I'm basically thanking my host. And he goes, yeah, you know, thank you so much. We really loved you. When we heard your audition, things like that. And then he goes, don't tell anyone, but we're probably going to bring you back. And I'm like, what? Like, how is that possible? You know? And he goes, you know, we're going to work some things out. And I'm like, all right, cool. I look forward to, you know, whatever you work out. So he was always really cool. And like I said, I was able to talk to him directly through a Twitter message, and on top of when I did get a chance to go into the studio. So he was awesome.
No, I'm really glad to hear that. And yeah, because of the episodic way they fix things, sometimes characters do come back. So I know in the first game, the first Life is Strange, they did bring one character back because of the popularity of it. So it's quite nice that Esteban came back and that you had that kind of reassurance of it. It
seems like that was the case with me, because he's, you know, the third episode, I believe that's the second time I came back. Mm-hmm. Philip was I wrapped up my session, and Philip goes, hey man, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get to see you again because a lot of people liked you. And I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, so I got super excited. I was like, this is great. Yeah, of course, dude. And so he goes, all right, man, I'll see you. And he kind of did a nudge. So I'm like, cool. Yeah, this is great. Please keep bringing me back from the dead.
Oh, no, I'm really glad to hear that. That's a really wonderful story. So, and you kind of mentioned it there, whilst Esteban does appear in other episodes, his, his main front row seat is in the first episode. Right. I kind of wanted to know, in your studio sessions, how long did it take you to record lines for the first episode? And what was like the longest session as well?
I think the first session was the longest session because when I got the entire script, they sent me the entire script, and I probably overkill, but I always want to try to feel like I'm as prepared as I possibly can. So I read the entire script, like everybody's lines. I didn't care. I wanted to make sure I read the entire script. Like I said, it's my the training that I have as an actor is like always try to be prepared as much as you possibly can. And I had never done a voiceover session in the past. So like, I'm really going to make sure I grind this out. And it took me, I think I want to say about 2 hours to get my lines for the first episode. And then for each episode after, which I think is episode 3 and 5, it was only an hour because I didn't, as you said, the bulk of my trajectory is in the first episode.
Okay, and you kind of mentioned it there, so you do episode 1, you come back for 3. When you did the lines for 3, did they tell you were coming back for 5, or do you just get another message down the line?
No, like I said, Philip was kind of like wink, wink, like I'll see you again type of deal. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure. I'm hoping that is the case. So I kind of got my hopes up, and yeah, sure enough, they are like, hey, Amador, we need you again. So I'm like, yes, this is fantastic, great.
I'm really glad to hear that. And with your VO sessions, were they all on your own in the recording booth?
Yeah, it was just me in the recording booth, and then Philip was in the he was the one handling the buttons. Sorry, I don't know what it's called. I apologize. I remember he told me like, hey, come on down. He had an assistant walk me into the booth first. First, I get to meet him when we're recording episode 1. He was like, hey, I'm Philip, and then the guys that are moving the buttons up and down. Like, and I apologize for not knowing the names or the correct titles. But it was him in on that side of the glass, and then it was me on the other side with the headphones and the microphone. So it was just myself in that booth.
Okay. And I have to ask this as well. When you were leaving or entering the booth, did you meet any of the other voice actors?
I think I passed. You just said his name. Sorry,
Gonzalo.
I think I passed Gonzalo, but again, it was like that. But I want to say that was on the last episode when I passed him. I want to say I passed him. I couldn't really pay attention. I didn't. Well, and the reason why I said didn't really pay attention was because I wasn't like looking for him. I was just kind of gathering my things as I was leaving. And on top of that, I never met any of the other actors because it's like, we're doing voice. That's it. Once we finish recording, I grab my things and I'm gone. I don't wait for anybody else, and nobody else is recording voice at the same time.
Okay. No, I have heard from actors sometimes they do meet them, sometimes they don't. Because Jolene, who plays Karen Reynolds, Esteban's ex-wife, she met, I think she met Gonzalo or Roman George when she was walking it throughout the studio. So it's quite, I just always ask to see if people did meet any of them. So I have to ask you as well, with Esteban, let's go on to him specifically. What was the most difficult scene for you to record? Anything that particularly stood out emotion-wise or resonated with you personally?
I think all the there's a. So when I was recording, sorry, I want to make sure I give a little bit of backstory. When I was first recording, it was back in 2017, I believe. And back in 2017, I was about to be a dad. So my son was born in January of 2018. So when we recorded, I believe it was November or December. And there, me as about to become a dad, I think I was able to connect to a lot of the very heartwarming scenes, especially, when I'm giving money and telling them to be honest, and I'm telling them to be kind to each other, and it's just us three, things like that. And like, that was kind of like getting to me at one point, where it's like, it's just like heavy for me in a good way, because I'm very lucky, and my dad is my dad's still alive, and my dad, he's very heartwarming to us, and he would always tell us he loves us and would always hug us and things like that. So there was this through line that I felt like from my father to me becoming a dad. I felt very connected to that, especially showing or feeling the love that I have for my son, who wasn't born yet, but he was on his way. And that those emotions, I think, were really, they were real, and I felt them. And it was like, at certain points I felt like I was choking up. I'm kind of choking up a little bit right now, because I love my dad, and I obviously love my son. But those emotions really resonated with me, and some of those lines I was really connected to them because of that.
That's quite surreal that your son was being born just, not long after you recorded lines, and then you were playing a dad who's, slain with two sons. That's really quite cool. Yeah. Just a good coincidence for it also kind of like fall together.
It was, yeah, absolutely. And I think, like I said, it was, while I was recording, I really had my son in the back of my mind. And again, like we were talking, like I'm in my son's room right now, and this is why I have this up. But it felt really, I don't know. It was the first time I was being a dad. But it just like, I don't know. I just felt so connected with certain lines that I felt like I would talk to my son that way, or I would try to guide him in the way that Esteban does, where it's like, hey, help me help you. Like, let's try to work together. We're in this together. Let's be a team. Those, like I said, it really resonated with me.
No, I'm really glad to hear that, and it's a really, really cool story. I'm sure people will be, they'll have felt that. So I'm not sure if you played through all of Life is Strange or seen it all, but were there any favorite scenes that you particularly liked, involving Esteban or not involving him?
Let's see. I think one of the what I really liked is after I die is the dynamic big brother little brother, and the guarding of the big brother with the little brother. Even though the little brother has these incredible powers, the big brother's still trying to guard him and take care of him, despite the fact that, he probably could have picked him up and thrown him with his mind, right? But there's still that, I guess, responsibility that big brother feels for little brother, me being a big brother, feel that, even though I'm about 5'10", and my brother's like 6'2", but he's always going to be my little brother, and I'm still going to like try to take care of him and guard him, despite the fact that he towers over me. So I think again that played into my personal life when I did see people playing the game and things like that, because I did get to check that out, and that kind of resonated with me as well, because it's just a part of my family as well. So I really, really like that line, that through line.
Okay, no, I'm really glad to hear that, and like that you like the dynamic between the Diaz brothers as well. And I have to stick with Esteban for this. This is a two-fold question. So we've got, what's your favorite thing about Esteban? And is there anything that you wish that the developers had focused on more with the characters specifically?
So I'll answer backwards. I'll answer the second question first, and then I'll get to the first question, if that's okay. Yeah. I think I don't know. I don't think they could have developed him more. I just wish I would have been part of more episodes, right? But I think they did it in a way that it's like, it's just like it keeps you wanting more. I think sometimes, because I read some of the comments and some reviews and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, we love this guy, and that's it. Like you like Esteban because he is hustling for his two kids. And I think that they left it great. It wasn't, you didn't need anything else. You just had this, and then this is the first question is like, this is just a dad who loves his kids and wants to see his kids happy. That's it. Like that was the goal. That was, and I feel that as the goal of my dad. Like I just want my son to be happy, and I think me as playing Esteban, Esteban just wants his kids to be happy, and that's basically it.
Okay. And what about your favorite thing with Esteban?
Just his love for his kids. His love for his kids was really shown, and I think the part where we're on the third episode, right, where there's a flashback, and I'm in the car teaching him how to drive, and then he comes out to me, right? I think that's really important. Especially in today's day and age, the acceptance. I love that, and it's like, yeah, I remember this direction particularly well with Philip. It's like, he goes, take it in first. He said, take it in first. Take in what he's telling you, because this is what your son is telling you right now. And this is obviously important. This is something important for your son. Therefore, it's important to you being Esteban, the dad that loves his kids. So I remember that, and I think that really resonated with me, like I said, with having the dad understand what his son is telling him and telling him, like, it's cool. I get it. I know where you're coming from. You don't have to shy away from being who you are. So I really, really remember that. And like I said, that direction that Philip gave me, still, like I said, a couple years later, and I still remember it.
No, I'm really glad that you said that, because I kind of wanted to talk to you about, Sean and Esteban, because their dynamic is the center of it, because you see with Esteban, it's so integral to their character, like, when he keeps reappearing, talking to Sean, the kind of guidance he gives to step up as the big brother. When you started seeing that, were you really admiring how they kind of like told that story of this kind of dad who's slain, who is always still the big figure for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously that it was important. Without a mom, I'm number one, right? And so I think I really enjoyed it, because, like I said, it just goes to show that even though they bicker and fight, when I come in the room and I tell them, hey, sit down, one of you get to the other side and one of you get to the other room, and despite the fact that Sean is like, whatever, Dad, whatever, it still hit home. He still remembers some of the things that I was telling him.
No, and I completely agree as well. I think like one of the things I really like is that whilst you're recording your lines on your own, the chemistry between you and Gonzalo, it feels so natural. With
nice.
Complete admiration for any of the voice actors on this. I always feel like they're in the same studio booth, but they're not. And I think it's a lot of credit to yourself and also to Philip and other people working it. So I'm really glad to hear that. And did you wish that maybe they had focused a little bit more with Esteban and Daniel a little bit more? Because we saw moments of it, but do you think they could have like just done a little bit more to kind of like have Daniel have that moment?
I think it wouldn't, for some reason, I think it wouldn't have been as important because I died. Because whatever I kept telling Sean to do, he then did it. He then translated what I was trying to tell him to do to his brother. So if I would have been more, one, he's obviously a lot younger too. So maybe these deep conversations that I did have with Sean probably wouldn't have translated to me trying to have these deep conversations with Daniel. So I think it worked out best like that, because then it gets to show the evolution of Sean, where he in fact was listening to me, despite the fact that he didn't want to listen to me. So I think that was important. I think it worked best the way that they have it, but obviously, people can disagree.
No, I agree with you. I just wanted to see where you stand on it. And before we move on from the Diaz brothers, I have one more thing to ask you. You mentioned it a little bit before. Daniel, he has powers, telekinesis. What did you just think when you found out that the little brother has?
It was awesome. I was like, what is happening here? Like I said, I read the entire the script, and then when I got up to the part where like I got shot, I was like, oh man, I'm disappointed, because I'm like, okay, well, I'm done. But then it kind of says like something happens. I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening here? And then it kind of like I started finding out that he has these powers. It was like, what? This is incredible. Like how, what, when? You're asking all these questions, which was great. I thought it was just so cool, a really cool twist and a surprise for me.
No, fair enough. Yeah, a kid using telekinetic powers is like always a given. Yeah, so it's a big plus. So, this episode is going to go out hopefully in January. We are recording in December, but hopefully in January it goes out. And with this game as well, you kind of touched on it before with like Sean coming out to his dad. The themes in this game are always quite strong, and especially in terms of like, we saw what happened to Esteban, what befell him. We see the themes of racism, about police brutality, and then obviously now we had the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement. We've had Donald Trump ousted out of office in an election. What was it like? What was it like just knowing that this game was doing this in 2018 when it came out, and then now we're in 2021 when this goes out, and there was touching on those kind of themes?
My first reaction was like, "Wow, cool! I'm in a video game." That was my initial reaction. Mm-hmm. But then I got this one message from it's not necessarily upon this. It's more upon it's not necessarily upon the Black Lives Matter movement and the discrimination, things like that. But it'll intertwine, I guess you could say, because I had this player, I guess you could say. He told me how important Life is Strange 2 to him. And he said how he loves Esteban because he lost his father at an early age as well. So when he started telling me that, I was like, wow, holy crap, like this game is like really important. And like I said, my initial reaction was like, yeah, cool. I'm a working actor. But then you start seeing, like you said, these themes, and this is in fact happening in the world. And you don't realize how powerful games can be, but because this is touching on something that is happening right now, you see the weight of this game and the importance, I think, of this game, and touching upon what's actually happening in in real life. And I think it was really important, and I love the fact that they did that. I thought it was phenomenal because, like I said, this is happening. This isn't something that you can turn a blind eye to. This is like in the forefront of a lot of people's faces that this is happening. And, especially with these, like you said, with the Black Lives Matter movement, I think that's phenomenal. It's just, I think it was just so important and so cool that they did that. I loved it.
No, I'm a big fan of like what they were doing with the story and intertwining. Because I saw when Trump got ousted out of office, Michel tweeted the wall being smashed in from the end of episode 5, which was I thought was a very, very, very aptly good tweet at that timing as well. So it was, I just think that the resonance was very, very fitting for a game like this. So no, I'm glad to hear your take on it. Before we actually move on from Life is Strange 2, I have to ask as well. This is obviously the themes are quite older in this game, but your son's young as well. I imagine that you'd like to see him play this game at some point down the line when he's older.
I think I would love to see that he plays the game. But at first, obviously, I would like just to have him play it. And then I would love to tell him, like, hey, that's me. It's your dad. That's my voice. I'm doing the last Choco Crisp. That's me. So I would love to have him see the reaction on his face. So I really – he doesn't understand it yet, obviously. He's too young to understand it, but I think I would really love to see him play it and know that after he plays it, that hey, that's your dad. That would be really cool.
No, that would definitely be very cool. And so we'll move on from Life is Strange for the moment. So what's life been like post Life is Strange 2 anyway? Like what's been any favorite projects that you've been working on since Life is Strange 2?
Unfortunately, due to COVID, the industry basically shut down in 2020. So there isn't much going on for me. The only thing that I'm doing right now is trying to get an agent. And because of COVID, I got dropped by the agent that I was with at the time in 2020. So right now I'm looking for an agent. So if anybody's watching this, if anybody wants to pick me up, please send me a message.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah. So 2020 was kind of like nothing happened. I think January and February I was starting to starting to audition. Pilot season started coming, but then March hit and everything shut down. So I didn't do anything, or I haven't really done anything. I've just been kind of like, reading plays and working on things, literally working as well. So 2020 was kind of a dud for that industry. And I don't mean to disrespect anyone who's lost a loved one due to COVID. So I just want to make sure I say that. But I'm saying, like, in my acting career, 2020, nothing happened because of COVID. 2018, I would say, was a fantastic year for my acting career. I did a couple commercials. I did a Samsung commercial, and that was really fun because of the director. The director who I met was actually from where I'm from my part of California, Southern California. That was really cool. And then I booked a feature film, but unfortunately I was dropped from it because of location issues. So they removed me from the scene. So those are the things that we experience as actors. And because it happened in 2018, it happened again, where I was like, hey, congrats, you got something else. And then it's like, oh, wait, never mind, your character got deleted. And I was like, oh, all right. And then I booked another commercials where I was juggling flowers, and I got to meet a very famous quarterback. I'm a huge NFL fan. Got to meet a very famous quarterback. He was such a nice guy. And then what was really cool was I booked On My Block on Netflix.
Nice.
That was fun. That was really cool. I got to meet Monse. And I got to meet Caesar, Diego Tinoco, who I had the scenes with. I had a couple scenes with him, and he was awesome, such a nice guy, and so was Monse. They were so nice. So I probably would say that On My Block was the coolest one because people, and by people I mean I work at an elementary school. They recognized me. So they were like, "Oh my God, I got to see you in On My Block," and I was like, "Oh, cool, that's awesome." That's so cool to hear because the kids I work with are from my area, and they don't necessarily get to see someone who's an actor. And I during that time I was a working actor in 2018, 2019. But I would say On My Block was definitely probably my favorite thing to work on because I got to meet like Diego and Monse and things like them.
That's really cool. You should have told them that school being like, I'm in a video game. They would have like lost their complete shit.
I have told them. They're. I think they're more of the Call of Duty / Fortnite players.
Yeah.
So when I told them, like, some of them knew who I was or what the game is that I was talking about. So they were like, "Oh my God, like you're him, like that's crazy." When I mentioned this or when I introduced myself, because I'm also a professor at a university over here in Los Angeles. I introduced myself and I tell them what I do and things like that and how I came, and I kind of give them a history. And there's always and I tell them like, hey, I also did the voice of a video game. And I tell them the video game, and a few students have been like, no fucking way. Like that was just a reaction. And they go, oh my God, your voice sounded so familiar and I couldn't understand where you're coming from. And I'm like, yeah, I do the voice of Esteban. And they're like, I play that game so much. And like, that was really cool because it's like, they're adults, young adults. And they're like, they're so excited that I play Esteban in Life is Strange too. So that was really cool. That's cool.
No, that is very cool. And as well, 2021, I hope your career goes back on track with COVID. And because I know a lot of actors have gone through that. I'm working from home, and I know that the entire industry is kind of like in the state that it is at the minute in terms of like just the shutdown. So hopefully things go up. And obviously as well with Life is Strange 2, you have such good VO experience with that as well. So I'm sure that there'll definitely be more opportunities coming up.
Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And whoever's listening out there and is a VO actor, come on, VO agent, excuse me, sign me. I haven't been able to get a voiceover agent.
See, if you're watching the show as well, you should understand this is how you work for jobs. Like I've had like younger people on this who watch the shows and have come up to me like, I wish I could get into acting, but I don't know how to do it. And they always talk about the actors who are on this. It's like, I wonder how they got into it. And obviously you've talked about your own experience, but that you worked for yourself, that you've gone on messaging boards, submitted, even appealed for an agent on here. So like, you know, I think it's just putting yourself out, isn't it, mainly?
Absolutely, man. I mean, I was, like I said, I got training for, I have a master's of fine arts in acting from USC, my sweater. We were trained in voiceover acting as well. We were trained by Vicki Lewis and Philip Allen. Vicki Lewis is actually plays, whoever has seen Finding Nemo, she's one of the fishes in the tank. She's Flo in the tank. And she's incredible. And so is Philip. And like I said, they helped us with to create our reel for voiceover, and which is I think one of the reasons why I was able to get called in for the audition of Esteban. Because I did have this reel, and I was like, hey, I know how to do this. Give me a chance. And fortunately, Michel did give me a chance. So that was awesome. So full circle, I guess you can say.
No, but I'm glad to say that. And I know Michel has watched some of these episodes, so I'm sure you'll watch this one as well. Yeah, I've been snooping around on Twitter. I definitely saw that you saw one of the episodes, so I'm sure you'll see this one.
Nice.
So we're coming to the end of the show, Amador, and I'm going to throw this one question that I always ask everyone. So is there currently plans for a Life is Strange TV show? Well, I know that you would jump at the opportunity to play Esteban because he is your character. I'm not going to let you on this show. So instead, I put the actor in the casting role. Who would you cast for Esteban and why?
Oh, man. You know what? I would say I'm a huge Mandalorian fan. So I would say probably Pedro Pascal. I think he's incredible. I'm a huge fan of his. I think his work is incredible. It's like, he was in Game of Thrones. Now he's in The Mandalorian. He's in Narcos. He's one of my favorite actors. So I would probably say Pedro Pascal or Michael Peña. I love Michael Peña's work as well. Michael Peña ranges from playing Cesar Chavez to his role in Ant-Man. I think it's just hilarious. So I would say either of those two characters. I think I would probably cast either of them in the Life is Strange 2.
No, very good shout. And especially with Pedro Pascal, I loved him in Game of Thrones. I thought he was fantastic in that. Yeah. And then even with Narcos as well, when I watched that, I was like, yeah, he's so good. He's just like one of those people that stands out. Like just his role and what he brings to the character, he's fantastic. So very, both of them very good shouts. So Amador, we're at the end of my show. I always let my guests have the final say and they send a message to the Life is Strange community. So I'll let you take it from here.
Well, first off, thank you so much for inviting me on your show. Super grateful. And thank you to all the fans and people who have messaged me. And like I said, I do get these messages. And again, I never understood how heavy the weight of this project was until I started getting those type of messages where people are like, wow, I really related to, you as a father because I lost my dad. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. So I'm super grateful to all the fans and everybody who followed me on Twitter that day that I guess the game was released. So I'm just super grateful to all the fans and I really appreciate it. I can't thank the fans enough. I'm so grateful.
No, thank you for a very wonderful message, and that comes to the end of the show. Thank you everyone for watching. If you do enjoy the video, please leave a like, subscribe, comment. If you're an agent, please reach out to Amador because he has asked for that specifically. Amador, absolute pleasure to have you on. I'm really glad that we had this opportunity to chat.
Absolutely, for the show. If whomever would like to follow me on Twitter, I don't really tweet too much. But I will, if you want to follow me, feel free at Amador P1124. Feel free to follow me there if you'd like. If there is, hopefully, like you said, hopefully 2021 we turn around and the industry kind of gets back on the tracks. Hopefully I'll be tweeting, if I'm doing some new projects.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a perfect plug for that. Thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully there'll be some more guests coming on. Stay tuned. There's more Life is Strange content coming to this channel. Take care. We'll see you later.